more live pictures from the Chula Vista City Council, which is meeting right now.
Yeah, they're discussing Chula Vista's self-declared status as a welcoming city. Council members stopped short of calling the city a sanctuary city several weeks ago. We're going to continue to follow the story, and we'll bring you an update tonight at 10 and 11. Well, back to one of our other top stories of the day. President Trump's immigration agenda is facing yet another obstacle.
Today, a federal judge blocked the Trump administration from enforcing a threat to take away money from sanctuary cities. KUSI's Lauren Finney joins us now with the story. Lauren?
Sandra and Alan, President Trump's executive order would withhold funding from sanctuary cities that do not cooperate with U.S. immigration officials. Today, a federal judge ruled that President Trump has no authority to attach new conditions to federal spending. Joining me now to weigh in on today's ruling is former prosecutor Parwana Anwar. Parwana, thank you so much for being here.
Thank you for having me.
Give us your thoughts on the judge's ruling today. Was it something that was expected, perhaps?
I think it was. This U.S. District Judge who ruled in San Francisco basically said that the 10th Amendment does not allow the executive branch to withhold federal funding to municipalities or states. And what the Trump administration was trying to do was basically threaten any cities who labeled themselves sanctuary cities or who were refusing to cooperate with his executive orders on immigration. He was threatening to keep federal funds from them. So the judge ruled that that would cause irreparable harm, and ultimately, I believe the ruling would be that it would be unconstitutional if it's taken all the way up to the U.S. Supreme Court.
Now, usually that's something that's within the power of Congress to decide whether or not federal funding can be withheld.
Exactly. So the 10th Amendment states that it's either within the state's power to determine funding within the states, or with the federal government, it would be within Congress's power to allocate funds or to withhold funds. Therefore, it's not the executive branch or the Trump administration who would be allowed to sign an executive order stating you don't do what we want with immigration, or if your police officers don't detain people or question people, then we're going to keep money from your city. And a lot of cities were caving. I believe Lansing, Michigan withdrew its label as a sanctuary city after only about 9 days because they feared losing millions of dollars for transportation, for law enforcement, for health care. So it's within Congress's power, and it's the 10th Amendment that gives Congress that power.
And really, there's no precedent when we look at a case like this, right? And we're talking about something that's not, it's a newer term in that it really, the term sanctuary city hasn't been defined under federal law. I mean, we've heard San Diego officials say we're not labeled as a sanctuary city, but when really we talk about that term and judges are ruling on that, there's really no precedent, no specific federal definition of that.
Right, exactly. It's a very loose term that's recently becoming more commonplace because of issues of immigration. However, it really started out as churches kind of providing sanctuary for people. Now we have different cities who are labeling themselves sanctuary cities, like Chicago or San Francisco, stating that they are not going to comply with the administration's orders. Kevin Faulconer, our mayor, refuses to label San Diego a sanctuary city, but there really is no precedent. There's no federal definition of what constitutes a sanctuary city. But Trump's executive order would give the Department of Homeland Security great leeway in defining what cities it believes is a sanctuary city based on its policies of not complying with the executive orders.
Where do you think likely there is going to be an appeal, as we saw with the so-called travel ban executive order, but where do you think this case is going to go from here? Is this something that we'll likely see at the Supreme Court at some point? Well,
I believe the administration has already said that it's not over. At this point, if they do decide to appeal the judge's decision, it would go to the 9th Circuit Court, and that's a 3-panel court that is a little more left-leaning. So I don't know how it would fare in that court. But then ultimately it could go up to the U.S. Supreme Court if there are more appeals down the line.
All right, Parwana Anwar, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
I appreciate your insight. Alan, Sander, we'll send it back to you.
All right.